The Galactic Military Academy had never admitted a Terran before. Humans were considered too fragile, too emotional, and far too unpredictable to be trusted with advanced weaponry and tactical training. But diplomatic pressures had forced the Academy's hand, and now a single human stood among the newest batch of recruits. James was shorter than most of his alien classmates, with unremarkable brown hair and standard-issue gray fatigues that hung awkwardly on his frame. The other cadets, ranging from the four-armed Duvari to the crystalline prisms of Nexus 9, kept their distance, not out of fear, but from a sort of collective pity. Everyone knew humans wouldn't last the first trimester. Drill Sergeant Crux, a hulking reptilian with scales that glinted like polished obsidian under the twin suns, seemed particularly determined to prove this point. "Terran," he bellowed during their third week of training. "Front and center." James jogged forward, standing at attention before the towering alien. Around them, the training field fell silent. "The War Beast trials are scheduled for next month," Crux announced, mandibles clicking in what the other aliens recognized as amusement. "But I see no reason why our Terran friends shouldn't get an early introduction." A wave of murmurs rippled through the formation. The War Beast trials were infamous, designed to cull the weakest 20% of each class. Most cadets trained for months before facing one of the genetically engineered predators. No one had ever attempted it during their first month. "Sir, with respect," Lieutenant Drav, another instructor, approached cautiously. "The human hasn't completed basic environmental adaptation yet." "Are you questioning my methods, Lieutenant?" Crux's dorsal spines flared in warning. "No, sir." Drav retreated, shooting James an apologetic glance. Crux led the assembled cadets to a reinforced containment facility at the edge of the training grounds. Through thick, transparent barriers, they could see a massive creature pacing within. It resembled a cross between an earth tiger and a scorpion, with 6 powerful limbs ending in hooked claws, a segmented tail tipped with a venom sac, and rows of serrated teeth visible beneath a perpetual snarl. "A Kulgari war beast," Crux announced with obvious pride. "Bred for combat on toxic worlds, it can smell fear and targets the weakest prey first." His compound eyes fixed on James. Survival rate for first encounters is approximately 37%. James swallowed hard but said nothing. "The exercise is simple," Crux continued. "Enter the chamber, retrieve the commander's insignia from the pedestal, and exit without being eviscerated. You have 10 minutes. The other cadets backed away, leaving James standing alone before the airlock. Many looked genuinely concerned, not a common emotion among species that typically view humans as barely evolved primates. "Sir," James finally spoke, "may I request equipment?" Crux laughed, a harsh sound like stones grinding together. "Denied. The war beast responds to technology. Weapons only make it more aggressive." James nodded, took a deep breath, and stepped into the airlock. The outer door sealed behind him with a hiss of pressurized air. From the observation deck, Drill Sergeant Drav leaned toward Crux. "This is highly irregular. If the human dies, we've proven what everyone already knows. They don't belong here," Crux replied without taking his eyes off James. The inner door slid open, and James stepped into the chamber. The war beast immediately stopped pacing, his bulbous eyes locking onto the human. Its nostrils flared, sampling the air. What happened next would later be reviewed by Academy officials 17 times before being classified as restricted information. James did not run. He did not freeze. Instead, he slowly lowered himself to one knee, maintaining eye contact with the creature. Then, to the astonishment of everyone watching, he began to hum, a low, rhythmic sound that seemed to resonate oddly in the chamber. The war beast tilted its head, its aggressive posture momentarily confused. "What is it doing?" one cadet whispered. "Some kind of sonic attack," another suggested. Crux leaned forward, his scales darkening with concern. "Lieutenant, activate the emergency extraction." But Drav hesitated, transfixed by the scene unfolding before them. James was now sitting cross-legged on the floor, still humming. The war beast approached cautiously, circling the human with its tail raised defensively. Then, inexplicably, it lowered its massive head to James' level. James slowly extended his hand, palm up, fingers relaxed. By the void, Drav whispered, "He's going to take his arm off." The war beast sniffed James' hand, then did something no one had ever witnessed before. It nudged its head against the human's palm. "Impossible," Crux hissed. Over the next few minutes, the gathered aliens watched in silent shock as James gently stroked the creature's armored head, scratched behind what passed for its ears, and eventually stood up. The war beast followed him like an oversized pet as he calmly walked to the pedestal, retrieved the commander's insignia, and returned to the airlock. Only when the inner door closed behind James did chaos erupt on the observation deck. "How did you do that?" Drav demanded when James emerged, insignia in hand. James shrugged. "I have a dog back home, big German shepherd. War beasts aren't so different. They respond to confidence and calm. They're bred to hunt fear. But the toxins in its skin should have burned you." One of the medical officers protested, scanning James with a handheld device. "Oh, I felt it," James admitted, showing his reddened palm. "But I figured showing pain would trigger its predatory instincts." Crux had gone unnaturally still, a sign of extreme agitation in his species. "You said you had no training." "I don't, sir. Not with war beasts." "Then how did you know the humming would pacify it?" James looked genuinely confused. "I didn't. I was just trying to regulate my own heart rate. Helps me stay calm." That evening, while James received treatment for minor chemical burns, the Academy's senior staff gathered for an emergency meeting. Reports were sent to Galactic Command, and within days, new directives arrived: expand the Terran program immediately. What terrified the military establishment wasn't that James had survived the war beast. It was that he had done so through intuition rather than training, revealing an adaptive capability no other species possessed. If one untrained human could tame a war beast through improvisation, what might a properly trained squad accomplish? 3 days later, Drill Sergeant Crux was reassigned to the outer colonies. His replacement, a stern but fair Arcturian named Vel, announced a curriculum change. "The Terran Cadet has demonstrated that our assumptions about combat biology may be incomplete," she told the assembled class. "From now on, all cadets will receive cross-species adaptation training." James found himself suddenly popular, surrounded by curious aliens asking about human intuition and emotional intelligence. He tried to explain that he wasn't special among his kind, that Earth's biodiversity had simply given humans a unique perspective on animal behavior, but this only intensified their interest. What none of them realized was that humanity's greatest weapon had been revealed that day, and it wasn't strength or technology. It was their unnerving ability to connect with, understand, and ultimately influence other forms of life, even those designed specifically to kill them. The galactic military would never be the same again.